Good morning, afternoon, or evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Arseni, and we're back to our friendly neighborhood helping Canada playthrough. I advanced the game by a little bit. Now, we finished our research, but we are continuing our focus on kind of researching, making our industry better. So we're going to be working on improving our oil situation. We're also going to be working on making our factory output greater and allowing us to build more factories, because Canada is really huge, but not a lot of that land is actually very usable, and urban centers are not, well, there aren't a lot of urban centers, let's put it that way. We also started working on the Support Weapons 1, which essentially gives us more machine guns, adding more machine guns, and kind of developing light machine guns weapons. In other news, Spain is still quiet. I keep waiting for the Spanish Civil War to kick off so we can send some volunteers in. But the United Kingdom has declared a Benelux strategy, so they're going to be kind of courting, guaranteeing neutrality, guaranteeing independence, rather, of the Belgium, Netherlands, and Luxembourg, which is, pretty big requirement for UK getting into war with Germany at some point. Furthermore, we got our Army 1 that has 2 divisions, and they almost finished training. Now, training goes, level 1 is green, level 2 is trained, level 3 is regular. Once the division is regular, you can't train them any further to give them the next stage, which is veteran. You can continue to train them in order to get these Army experience points that I'll show what you can do with them in a second. But in general, you can't train a division past above level 3, and they're about to tick over. These 2 divisions are about to tick over from trained to veteran. Sorry, to regular. So let's take a look as that happens. 97%, 98%. Oh, this one ticked over. Now it's regular. If it's a regular division, it gives it a 25% modifier in combat, which is great. But it's not going to be able to progress to veterans, to become a veteran division. Only, well, actual combat can do that. Right, in terms of government, we actually switched to free trade, just like I said we would. We're also decided to hire on an industrial company to decrease our industrial research time, so we can get through the industrial tree faster. We also got the artillery company, because artillery is very important in this game. We're going to need some good artillery. We're going to need some of that massed firepower. We do have 150 points. Take a look at what we can get. Quartermaster General, okay. Communist Revolutionary, no thanks. Fascist Demagogue, no thanks. Democratic Reformer, yeah, except our country is pretty democratic. We could go for political power gain. Yeah, let's do that. Let's hire the former president, sorry, what am I saying, former president? The former Prime Minister of Canada, R.B. Bennett, who was actually the Prime Minister before Mackenzie King. Why we can hire him, I don't know. Let's roll with it. Pardon me. Okay, so these 2 divisions stopped. They're basically regular, so we're going to stop exercising them, so they can get their equipment up to strength again. We are still lacking military factories. Well, we are doing something about that. Okay, let's see the Olympic Games. Okay, the 11th Olympic Games happened in Berlin. Great success. Jesse Owens wins 4 gold medals. Great. Good for Jesse. As far as construction goes, we have finished constructing some factories, which makes constructing more factories faster now, because now we have 9 civilian factories as opposed to 7 that we began with, that we can dedicate towards production. So now we can think about building some military factories. So that is what we are going to do. We'll put some in Quebec. Yep, let's put some in Quebec. We're also going to need some naval dockyards. So let's put one in Nova Scotia, one in British Columbia, two on Vancouver Island. There we go. Alright, it's going to take us another 4 months to build another civilian factory in Manitoba. It's still going pretty slowly. Like I said, there are ways of speeding that up with a national focus. So we're now that, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, we now have the interventionist focus, which allows us to send volunteers. So now we're working on an industrial effort. An industrial effort improves our research. It also gives us free civilian factories, it gives us free military factories, and it also gives us free infrastructure, which allows our troops to move around faster and provides them with better logistics. Things aren't really heating up, other than Italy finally taking over Ethiopia, and you can see the greater Italian Ethiopia here. It's been pretty quiet. I keep wondering when Spain is going to kick off, because that is something that I kind of want to participate in. Sending our divisions into actual combat is a really easy way of gaining the army experience. As you can see here, we're gaining only 0.031 of 1 experience point per day. So it's taking us quite a long time to get some army experience. Let's take a look to see what we can deploy. We can now deploy motorized divisions. Let's take a look at the template. Okay, so 2 regiments of motorized infantry consisting of 3 battalions. Okay, let's actually talk about the templates. So each division in the game is constructed using a template. A template can have up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different regiments, as well as support companies. In real life, these support companies would really be more like, in many cases, support battalions, or they wouldn't actually be treated as companies. Like, for example, in real life, you'd have like a medical battalion. Here, they're called support companies. We can, at the moment, because that's what we've researched, we can add one of the following: support artillery, recon company, or engineer company. We can also click to add mobile, just kind of increase the number of regiments we have. We're not going to do that yet. We only have 9 points right now. I don't want to go messing around in templates just yet. Let it roll. Check on our production. Wow, it's taking us 11 years to make 1 destroyer. Which is sad, because actually, again, historically speaking, Canada, once mobilized, had actually quite an impressive military-industrial output. For example, Canadian shipyards could produce a destroyer, I believe, 1 destroyer almost every week at the height of mobilization. They were produced on average at a rate of 1 every week. So, unfortunately, this is 1936, and it's not going very fast. Heck, we're only producing just under 2 tanks a month. We need more military factories for sure. But right now, without a civilian infrastructure in place, it's going to take us a long time to build military factories. So we're just going to suck it up and build those civilian factories. Speaking of factories, we can now, okay, do we go for armament effort, which gives us free military factory, or construction effort, which gives us a free civilian factory? I think we're going to go for civilian factory, just because it'll help us build things faster in the long run. Oh, you may also be wondering, what are these stars? Now, stars denote capitals, but they also denote any points, provinces rather, what the game calls provinces, that actually are worth victory points, because the game is going to tally up in 1949, I think that's when the game ends, how many victory points your country has. So for example, Ottawa is worth 20 victory points, which is actually quite a bit. Washington, however, is worth 40. How much is New York? Is New York worth anything? I thought New York was worth something. Maybe not. Cuba, let's take a look. Havana, how much is Havana worth? Havana is worth only 5 victory points. There you have it. So Ottawa, nice juicy target, actually. Right, we have research available. We finished construction. Now, one thing to note is that if you continue down, you may notice here year 1936, 1937. If you try to research technology that is ahead of its time, historically speaking, you will have a penalty. On the other hand, if you're continuing researching in the same tree, you're going to get a 50% boost to research time. Now we're researching concentrated industry because Canada is a vast country, but it has relatively few urban centers. So I'm not really worried by Canada being bombed. So dispersed industry, which helps prevent our industries from being bombed into oblivion. I'm not too worried about that. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We want to construct faster. Definitely want to construct faster. So we're going to take that. And see, it's going to take us. Pardon me. It's only going to take us 60 days. 58 days. Let's go back to our ships. They're still fresh. I could have sworn like putting them out on patrol improves their experience. I don't know. Maybe we should announce, give it an admiral. Oh, we have to be in port. All right, let's select our Atlantic Squadron and head back to port. Okay, now that they're in port, let's see. Got Admiral Bailey Groman and Admiral Leonard Murray. The names, by the way, are historically accurate. It's just the portraits are actually generic for these countries, like I said earlier. Yeah, let's assign this admiral. He has a higher spotting chance, which is good news because eventually we're going to be doing some submarine hunting. And now let's put them on patrol. Okay. Now they're on patrol. Sorry about the startling sounds. This game actually has pretty good sounds. Kind of a rousing military soundtrack that sometimes is very kind of quiet and understated, but sometimes it kind of swells to this grand kind of Saving Private Ryan type score, which is pretty cool. But it does get a little bit repetitive. There aren't that many tracks in the game though. Okay, we researched support weapons. We don't want to research any special forces just yet. Maybe Marines, maybe, but that is going to come later. Support battalions. Let's look at support battalions. Military police, maintenance company, which is going to help, especially if it's like an armored company, for example. Armored division. And for motorized, we can add field hospitals, logistics, or radio, but we do have to research radio. Well, speaking of electronics, Canada actually was one of the world leaders in electronics research and production in 1930s. So we're going to do some electronic engineering. True story. Ted Rogers, who was the founder of the Canadian Rogers Telecommunications Corporation, which is absolutely massive in modern day Canada, was the inventor of the batteryless radio, which meant that radios now could actually be small enough to be plugged into a wall socket, and you could actually have a radio at home, and you could gather around the radio with your family and listen to it. So there you go. There's another Canadian fact that you learn from listening to me. Okay, let's modify our government a bit. Again, we have 150 points. We can try to speed up research. We can assign a chief of army, which honestly I don't want to do at the moment. It's not really needed, and none of the chiefs of army that we can get, whether it's Harry Carrar or Andrew McNaughton. Actually, a friend of mine went to a school named after McNaughton, I think. But none of these guys, unfortunately, give us what we want, which is, at the moment, the Army experience. None of them give it to us, so we don't want any of them. What about the military command? Not some pretty good options, but again, nothing we really need right now. So we can spend these points on something better. There's a guy who gives us better trade, I think. No, this guy helps us construct bases faster, but we don't want to construct bases just yet. So we don't want to go into here either. Ship designer could be good, because we're gonna need some ship designers. Okay. We're going to need some better aircrafts, right? So what do we want to focus on? Medium aircraft, like heavy fighter and tactical bomber? Do we want to focus on fighters and carrier fighters? Do we want to focus on naval aircraft, so like naval bombers and carrier-based naval bombers? I think we're going to focus on medium aircraft, because we're going to be doing some bombing eventually. So we're going to hire the de Havilland Canada Aircraft and Engines Company. I think that's what they were called in 1936. Again, if I'm wrong and you know better, please post in the comments below, let me know. I teach, or at least I used to teach, Canadian history, but my focus wasn't specifically on the 1930s Canada or 1930s kind of domestic economy of Canada. So if I'm wrong, let me know. Okay, so far this is actually really uneventful. We're coming on the end of the 1936. The Spanish Civil War has not kicked off. China has been quiet. I think the Marco Polo bridge incident is coming up, but again, we turned off the historical focus, so who knows? All sorts of craziness might happen. But for now, we're having a nice quiet game. Almost forgot. Let me turn on the day-night cycle, which is, I actually kind of like it. Yeah, see, you can actually have a day-night cycle line going through, which I find kind of like hypnotically. Yeah, so I'm already hypnotized. No, I find it kind of hypnotic, kind of like, ooh, day-night, day-night, day-night. I find it's kind of neat. Also, it doesn't really slow down the game, which is also a nice touch. And by the way, yes, weather, time of day, all those things affect your unit's ability to fight, which is, kind of awesome and mind-boggling at the same time. Like, there's a lot of things you can take into account. You don't have to, but you can, which is, again, pretty amazing. Oops, no, we didn't want to click that. Oh yeah, by the way, we're allied, of course, with all of the British dominions, such as Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, British Raj, and of course the United Kingdom itself. Okay, let's turn off the day-night cycle. Some people might find it annoying. Research-wise, okay, we're coming up on construction 2. It's pretty good. Let's take a look. Shall we continue in construction? Or shall we try for something else? I think we need better artillery. We're going to start on researching better artillery. Specifically, we're going to research interwar artillery, and then we're going to go on to improved artillery, which is going to be very handy. Let's start on that. Our political power is gaining quite fast because we do have, what's his name, R.B. Bennett, who was a conservative prime minister, but he's helping us, the liberals. So, okay, whatever. National focus time. Okay, do we want more civilian factories? Yes, we want more civilian factories. Let's take a look. How much faster can we make things now? A little faster. Let's really speed it up. As for production, we're yeah, production has not improved greatly. But we are building more civilian factories, which will allow us to trade for the resources. See, we're lacking some productive resources, which create bottlenecks in our production, in our military production. If we can acquire more... Oh, there we go. Let me finish my thought, though, first. If we can acquire more productive resources, more raw resources, we can eliminate those bottlenecks and improve the efficiency of our production. But a civil war has erupted in Spain. Several generals seeking to overthrow the current government in Madrid have issued a pronunciamiento, and a large portion of the Spanish armed forces have answered the call to arms. This right-wing nationalist faction has occupied much of Spain, including the overseas territories. Loyalist forces and volunteers have assembled under the left-wing Republican government, determined to resist the putsch to their last breath. The battle for Spain has begun. So historically, Canadian government stayed out of the Spanish Civil War, other than condemning the violence. But a large contingent of Canadian volunteers, mostly French Canadians, but there was quite a few English Canadians, as well as Jewish Canadians, and other nationalities that lived in Canada at the time, went as volunteers to fight in Spain, and they formed the so-called Mackenzie-Papineau Volunteer Battalion. We're going to be more ambitious than that. We want Spain to actually stay Republican, because if Spain turns nationalist, there's a good chance that it will join the Axis, and it will, unlike in real life, stab France in the back, and then France will collapse even faster. We don't want that to happen. We're going to support Republican Spain. Nationalist Spain declared war on Spain. Good for nationalist Spain. Let's go to diplomacy, and we're going to go to Europe, and we're going to find Republican Spain, and we're going to... Oh no, we can't send volunteers. Oh, it's because we're democratic. I thought we could send volunteers right away. That sucks a little bit. Let's take a look at our focus there. Okay, well that might help us. I really don't want to distract us from our arms race, but might have to do that in the interest of helping Republican Spain. Are you sure we can't do anything about that? Let's see. Okay, I guess we can't. Spain is on its own. Look at that. That is not looking good for Republican Spain, which is lighter brown or kind of khaki yellow. How there was... Oh, right. When I was playing Soviet Union, I was able to send volunteers to Spain right away. Unfortunately, we're not playing the Soviet Union, so Republican Spain may be on its own for now. Maybe it'll get some volunteers from other countries. I hope they do. Okay, we do have 12 army experience points, so that can be good to play around with. We can actually do a few interesting things with our template now. Let's go to motorized division. We can give it recon company, or we can give it support artillery, or don't think we could. Let's see how much would it cost. It costs 5 to remove. Never mind, we're not gonna do it now. Alright, we're going to modify the government for now. Theorists. Now this theorist will improve our army experience gain, which is actually something we do want. So let's get Kenneth Stewart on board. Alright, we researched electronic mechanical engineering, which decreases our research time, which is good. Let's decrease our research time, make our research even faster by decreasing the time needed to research something. Well, you see these icons. These are our fighting icons that show that there's a battle in progress. Unfortunately, we have no intel on them, so we can't actually click on them to find out more. Okay, so now we can actually build some oil refineries if we really want to, which we do. But for now, we can also do things like, let's go for heavy fighters. We have a focus on that with the de Havilland, Canada. So more heavy fighters is could be good. Is what I'm saying. Okay, so I think after construction effort 2, we're going to try to get the volunteer, or is it the volunteer corps? See if that's going to help us. Maybe it will help us get to Republican Spain's help. We'll see. You can also see here that actually our efficiency of factories has now improved. So for example, our infantry production line is actually working at maximum possible efficiency, which we have a cap of 75%. We can improve it further with better technologies and adapting certain policies, or maybe hiring the right people for the job. So that one factory that is making rifles and grenades and other infantry equipment is operating at its maximum possible efficiency at the moment. Our tank efficiency is increasing, so now, even though we did not add more factories, we still have only 2 military factories assigned to tanks, but our tanks, we're now producing 2.4 tanks per month, which is still pathetic, don't get me wrong, but it's much better than before. As for our total artillery, our efficiency is slowly rising. Actually, none of our templates use artillery at the moment, which is fine, because what I want to do is I actually want to stockpile artillery. And right now we only have 10, which is pathetic. We actually only have 10 artillery pieces, 10 units of artillery. Okay, so I think this is going to be a good place to put in a cut. With 1937, we're just a month into the 1937, and hopefully as things develop in Spain, as we get the volunteer corps national focus, hopefully more interesting things are going to start happening. I hope to see you in my next video, where maybe you'll learn even more new facts about Canada. So see you then.